You ever wonder how the most dangerous, powerful criminals in American history, mob bosses who controlled entire cities, actually got taken down? Spoiler, it wasn't some Hollywood shootout or dramatic standoff. It was tax returns, wiretaps, and painstaking legal strategy. Today, we're taking a look at the real legal playbook used to dismantle the most infamous gangster empires, from Al Capone to John Gotti. Let's start with the legend himself, Al Capone. At the height of Prohibition, Capone ruled Chicago. He had the police in his pocket, judges bribed, witnesses too terrified to speak. His operations made millions off bootlegging, gambling, and extortion. The FBI couldn't touch him for any of it. Why? Because no one would testify, and the violence left no paper trail. So what brought Capone down? Taxes. The U.S. Treasury Department built a case that he was living large but never filed a legitimate income tax return. In 1931, they hit him with tax evasion charges. No murder counts, no bootlegging charges, just failure to report income. That's all it took. Feds used forensic accounting and bank records to show Capone's lifestyle didn't match what he claimed. He got 11 years in federal prison. That case established something huge. If you can't get them for the big crimes, get them for what you can prove. Fast forward to the 1970s and 80s, when the Mafia's power was spread across the 5 families of New York. These weren't thugs on the street. These were billion-dollar criminal syndicates run like corporations with strict hierarchies. You had the boss, underboss, consigliere, captains, and soldiers. The government realized they needed a new weapon. Enter the RICO Act, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Passed in 1970, RICO changed the game. Instead of just charging individual crimes, prosecutors could now go after the entire criminal enterprise. If you could prove a pattern of racketeering, extortion, bribery, loan sharking, drug trafficking, you could indict everyone in the hierarchy, even if they never directly touched the crime. This legal shift was massive. It meant the boss couldn't hide behind layers of soldiers. If the enterprise benefited from criminal activity, everyone was fair game. And then came wiretaps. The FBI started bugging phones, social clubs, and even restaurants where mobsters met. Remember the infamous Ravenite Social Club in Little Italy? That was John Gotti's headquarters. The feds bugged the hallway, and later the apartment upstairs, capturing hours of incriminating conversations. The key wasn't just recording, it was context. Prosecutors needed to prove what the mob code words meant. I talked to the guy about the thing. Might sound meaningless unless you can match it to surveillance or other witness testimony showing the thing was a drug shipment or a hit order. Now, here's something most people don't realize. Flipping insiders was the secret sauce. Mob culture was built on omerta, code of silence, but once prosecutors showed they could put you away for life under RICO, even loyal soldiers started flipping. Take Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano. He was John Gotti's underboss, his right-hand man. In 1991, he turned state's witness and testified against Gotti, admitting to 19 murders. That testimony was devastating. Gotti, who had previously beaten 3 cases and earned the nickname the Teflon Don, finally got convicted of murder and racketeering. He died in prison. And then there's the legal grind. Meticulous surveillance logs, sting operations, cooperating witnesses, wearing wires. It wasn't glamorous, but it built airtight cases. The goal wasn't to impress a jury with theatrics. It was to overwhelm them with evidence. Let's not forget the use of informant deals. Prosecutors would offer reduced sentences to lower-level players in exchange for testimony. That created a domino effect. One guy flips, then another, then another. Each provides new intel and corroborates the last guy's story. Suddenly, the entire structure of the organization is mapped out like a corporate chart, from soldiers all the way to the boss. Of course, these legal strategies came with risk. Putting your case in the hands of a former killer like Gravano was a gamble. But prosecutors knew, if you want to dismantle a criminal empire, you sometimes need to make deals with the devil. The legal strategy evolved again with surveillance tech. Agencies started using sophisticated tracking, phone metadata, even secret cameras in parking garages and safe houses, but they also had to stay within constitutional bounds. Fourth Amendment rights meant illegally obtained evidence could be tossed out, so prosecutors worked closely with judges to get proper warrants, sometimes under seal, to avoid tipping off targets. Let's pivot to something else. Jury protection. In many mob cases, the government had to implement anonymous juries to protect jurors from intimidation or retaliation. That's another layer of legal strategy. Balancing a fair trial with public safety. Now here's the kicker. These strategies weren't just about punishment, they were about disruption. Take down a boss, you create chaos. Use RICO to indict a dozen leaders at once, and you paralyze the enterprise. The feds knew they weren't just winning cases. They were collapsing systems. Even today, those strategies live on. Prosecutors use RICO against gangs, white-collar crime rings, even corrupt unions or political conspiracies. What started as a tool to fight the Mafia is now one of the most powerful weapons in the Department of Justice's arsenal. So, the next time someone says the law is powerless against organized crime, remind them it wasn't bullets that brought down the Mafia. It was evidence, witnesses, and relentless legal tactics. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Due Process Daily, and drop a comment below. What legal takedown fascinated you the most? We've got more coming on the real strategies behind the courtroom victories that shaped history.